clothing, temporary shelter, long-term housing, short-term jobs, temporary employment, or long-range careers. It all takes some help and finesse. Not everyone can do it. It's an art and a science. And let's face it, not everyone is a scientist. Some people need more help than others. The basics like reliable transportation, internet, laundry, a regular shower, even water. Those basics we all take for granted. Electricity. These are the challenges of those caught in the net. Are homeless, unhoused, housing challenged, living in the margins. People of all ages, young, middle-aged, senior citizens, entire families, male, female, all reasons and all walks of life. Anyone can find themselves living in the margins. Homelessness and the challenges that go with it are not going away, and we can't ignore them. It's just too expensive. We've got to do better. Take the next step forward. Tune in now and listen to Working in the Margins.
Good afternoon, San Bernardino, Inland Empire. This is Shazette with Family Assistance Program. This is our weekly radio show, Working in the Margins. And we bring to you resources and connections to community agencies that are able to assist our marginalized communities, whether it be reentry, our LGBTQ communities, our human trafficking. This is Human Trafficking Month, so I'm going to have guests on later on this month to talk about that. But I am honored today. And I'm thinking, I look really short in my monitor. I should have brought my seat. I usually sit on my seat right here because I know I shrink. But I have these two wonderful professional men right here in San Bernardino County. They work with Family Assistance. We are colleagues. These are my colleagues.
Good to see you, Z.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to introduce yourselves. Kevin Mahaney, he's with Family Assistance, and he's going to introduce himself and his programs and what he works with. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Z. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Mahaney, and I am Program Manager for Family Assistance Program based out of our Highland Ave office here in the great city of San Bernardino.
Yes.
And rolling up under me are some just wonderful programs I'd love to share with you. One quickly is about navigating victims of violence to get health care.
Yes.
Many of them have pent-up health needs they haven't addressed.
Right.
And so our navigation service improves their health.
Right.
A second program that rolls up under me is, and I'm excited about it because it's new, is a reentry initiative.
Yes.
And what we're doing is working with folks that have been impacted by the justice system,
Yes.
and then doing our best to get them not just a job, but a
Right.
really decent career.
Exactly.
Give them a second shot or a second chance at that.
Right.
And then let's see, I work out of our Highland Avenue office very closely with our human trafficking program, which you
Correct.
said you'll have on
Emily.
later this month.
She's been on the show before,
yeah.
Miss Emily.
Yeah, and then related to reentry, I know I shared we do the careers. We also have a cousin program, reentry, which is providing housing.
Yes,
And so
next
what we're
step.
actually doing is going into institutions,
Yep.
connecting with those that are going to soon be released,
Right.
and then getting them in and helping them.
Next step.
That's
Who's
it.
also, I've had them on the show too. I've had that team on. They work under Miss Vanessa, and it's a wonderful program. I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Jim Bolus. He's going to give us a little bit of his bio, and then we're going to have some wonderful conversation here about the services that Family Assistance provides, because this is a Family Assistance program. We are Family Assistance colleagues. So I want to start the year off right, talking about what Family Assistance does in the community. So Jim Bolus, tell us about you, sir, and welcome. I'm so happy to see
Thank
y'all
you.
today.
I'm glad to be here, Z. I love talking with you. You know
Yes,
that.
we have good combos.
Yeah. I'm the Chief Program Officer at Family Assistance Program. I've been working, I started working as Director of Youth Services. I've been working with runaway and homeless youth
Yep.
for 39 years. And so now I'm overseeing general programs at the agency and supervising, you know how supervising staff, so how a lot of staff, the people who work in this field, their clients are the people who are
Right.
disenfranchised, who need services. My clients are the staff.
Right, right.
That's how I sort
You
of look
take
at
care
it.
of us.
I hope I
go.
do.
Yes, yes. You make sure we're trained, that we're not just out there doing stuff willy-nilly, we're following policy and procedures,
Sure,
that we
sure.
know what we're talking about. So,
Yeah.
yes, you
You know,
are
so-
greatly appreciated.
Thank you. And I really love doing this work.
good.
You know, and a lot of the work that a lot of the work that I do also is on outcomes and training. So training is
Right.
one thing, and then outcomes, measuring the impact, and that's what a lot of nonprofits have difficulty doing is
Yes.
showing how they're being effective. We know it. We
Right.
see it in the people that we're talking to.
Right.
But we need to be able to show it to the people who are funding us so that they
Exactly.
can understand they're getting a return on their investment, basically,
Right.
which is a horrible way
Right.
to say it, but it's true.
Right.
And so another part of my role is I was asked to oversee the development of the Stop the Hate campaign.
Right. Right.
And that's what I'm really here to talk about today.
Yes.
So I'm,
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
And I'm excited because we do great things at Family Assistance Program, and we are highly diversified. And I think sometimes it gets lost in the translation that family assistance is domestic violence because we're strong there, or that we have strong reentry programs because that's where we're strong. But we are diversified, and we address almost every population of marginalized neighbor, community member, every population.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna. I have questions, but I know you, both of you, very well. So, but to keep it organized, keep me organized because I'm the one. I'm like, okay. So what do you think about that? So, but Kevin, I want to talk to you about your role as a program manager because you are actually, you are a program manager over several programs. What is a day like for you?
Fun, challenging, busy.
How do you keep it all square? First, I'm gonna to your testament. You keep an amazing calendar, so that's I know that helps.
Okay.
But you tell me because that's a lot of balls juggling in the air sometimes.
So I don't always keep it square, and it's nice to have staff that are so receptive to wanting to work as a team. And I'm a big believer in team building. Many hands makes light work
Yes.
is one of my mottos. What I do is I'm good at looking at or seeing opportunities where our different programs can overlap
Okay,
to
intersect.
best serve our customer. And so there are examples of that. So we have, for example, an employment specialist, and God bless her, she is on the phone trying to recruit employers
Right.
for helping us get people jobs. Well,
Right.
as I said earlier, we have a reentry initiative that is looking to get people good paying jobs.
Right.
So I might sit down, as I have, with our employment specialist and say, it's got to be more than just a job at a local. I would love to see our clients, whether they be someone hurt by violence or coming out of the justice system, I'd love to see them get connected with an employer
Right.
that could provide ongoing development, the way
Right.
Jim said, and provide benefits, maybe a 401k.
Right.
Offer those things that gives that person a true second
Right.
shot. And so I look for ways of bringing people together, seeing where there is a common interest to help a client, and build off of that. And
Right.
I'm blessed to say more than not, it works. People
Yes.
can see it as well and say, okay,
Right.
let's work together.
I appreciate that about you because we, being highly diversified, we have folks on staff, a lot of folks, program managers. We have different talents, different strengths and different talents, and we are mostly women, and we face challenges and different challenges. And I feel that having you, Kevin, on our team to help, grow us as leaders. Because you're a long-established leader here in the community, so your position in leadership is also to help foster leaders within the Family Assistance Program. Jim as well. And I appreciate the fact that, one, that you want to do it, that you are good at it, but you listen to us, to your team. You listen, and you haven't steered me wrong that I know of. And I'm always,
That's good.
and I seek your opinion and your advice often about, the work that we're doing, trying to stay on track with the work that we're doing, because we have a lot of folks with a lot of different strengths, and sometimes we can get siloed in our work. And really, there's no need for that at all, because like you said, most of our work intersects. So we want to, I appreciate you keeping that going. Tell me, how do you measure, I know we're data driven, so we know that we have, empirical data that we keep track of, but how do you measure outcomes from the programs that you are?
So the first thing I enjoy trying to think about is that we've been given grant funding to produce something, as Jim was saying, an outcome. And even better if that outcome somehow has the windfall of a return on investment, right?
Right.
What we produced to somebody is super, super valuable. So the first thing I think about is, with my teams, what are you inherently supposed to produce per week given your job? Can we define that? Can we really nail that down? And you and I have had the good fortune of working together when we got grant funding by our county to address homelessness
Right.
in the city of San Bernardino.
Yes.
And what you and I were doing was, with our team, we were measuring every week,
Every week.
every day, the number of people we would help.
We
And
were
s-
the only ones.
And by the end of the month, we had a running count
Yes.
of how many people called us, how many people we navigated, and we could convert that into a percentage.
Yes.
And
we
you
still do.
and you and I knew that in the city of San Bernardino, if homeless callers were calling us at our Highland office, 2 out of 10, a little more than 2 out of 10, that's 20%, we could navigate to shelter.
Yes.
And in the high desert, it was more of like 3 out of 10 because
Right,
they had
because
some
they had the
they had some
wellness,
additional
yes,
resources up there.
yes.
So I try to take that. How do we baby step? What do you got to do per week, and then build on that?
Right. Right.
And that's also because I think Jim would chime in, and I know you would too, that if you can measure something, then it suddenly becomes valuable.
Yeah.
Right.
In certain people's eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can measure it, it has some kind of intrinsic value, and maybe you can control it a little bit more because
Right.
you're measuring it. It's
Somebody
not-
wants that data.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to want it, and
Yeah.
somebody's going to use it.
Right.
And if I know, like what you're talking about, Kevin, with the CES, we were leaps and bounds ahead of documenting that data, collecting that data, and folks were looking to us to help them learn how to collect that data, and using that. And that was a proud moment for us in CES, for the funder to say, hey, can you supply us with your data, because we need to know what the outcomes have been for the last 6 months or 8 months.
And I believe in the heart and the head in this work. So the heart is getting testimonies from the people we're helping, because I think that really warms the heart of grant funders as well, that the voice of the folks that we're helping are represented. So the heart is that warm story of just, my gosh, your program changed my life.
Mission moments.
All right. And then the head is, how many did you do like that per
Exactly.
week? And marry the two together
Yes.
to make it super difficult for a grant funder to say, I don't know what you're doing or
Exactly.
how well you're going to do it. Yeah, you do. Just read a little closer.
And to
It's there.
Jim's credit, those client surveys that we do, that he's so diligent about keeping us on, those client surveys, those are so important, because that's that's your custom, that's your money. That's what they want to know about who you're serving, and those are, and how they feel about you. Because, sometimes the clients say they don't feel good about it, and that needs to be known to help your agency grow.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I mean that is really a way that we get boots on the ground understanding of our clients. And I think a lot of times, we hear it over and over and over again from clients, and they're like, oh, we're so tired of giving you our opinion. They're literally tired of it, but we really tell them it's important for us to know that we're doing right by you.
Exactly.
And
tell us what you need.
right. And when we hear like good, but then all of a sudden once in a while we might hear, well, this needs to be fixed, or this person wasn't that, then that's like, that allows us to adapt in a process.
Very important. It is very important to get feedback from the people that you serve, so that one, you can continue to serve them.
Yeah.
If you're doing good, keep those things up,
Yeah.
but to find out the things that you need to build upon and grow upon.
Yeah.
As an agency, as a case manager, as an advocate, it grows you as a person. It grows your career. You can. I felt at some point in my own career that I needed to develop really good conflict resolution skills. I really needed to do that, because I felt that was what I really struggled in. Conflict resolution skills, because there's this trend going on around right now. The kids are doing it. They're saying, what do you don't ask any questions or tell the truth, or you know which one it is, Eric, you young. No judgment, but I was terrible at conflict resolution, because I always felt I was the victim.
Right.
I always felt, and that's a cultural thing. It's it's a women,
Yep.
a female thing. It's a marginalized community member thing. So I was terrible at conflict resolution, because I always felt that, no, you're trying to do me wrong.
Right.
And so I felt, I really, and I'll be honest, it was when I started a family assistance program. And I came and I started a family assistance program, and they're like, oh, we have this colleague that he does trainings and things like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started seeing the stuff come through, and I was like, oh, team building, things like that. And I was like, oh, I want to see if they have a conflict resolution, because I think that's what I really need. Right. And I've had extensive conflict resolution training before and since, and it has helped.
Right.
It does help.
I think so much of the work that we do is about helping people find their voice and find themselves, right? And I think a lot of people that we serve who are in crisis situations, which is the majority of our clients, that they don't feel that they have a voice.
Exactly.
They don't know how to use that voice, right? I learned in the 80s when I was doing outreach in Times Square, this drop-in center, we learned how to deal with conflict among ourselves as staff, so then we could manage conflict with clients.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, bring it. I
Right.
say all the time, I have no ego. I don't have skin in this game. If you don't like what I'm doing, tell me. Let's argue. I won't hurt you.
You have always been very open, and I've always appreciated that about you. We are at the half hour almost. We're going to go to a break real quick. And then when we come back, I have a few more things to go over with you guys, and we're going to really kind of dig into Stop the Hate.
KCAA.
This is Gary Garver. If you made a New Year's resolution to get yourself in shape and be healthy this year, I have a great event to tell you about to start 2025. It's Fit Expo LA, and it's being held January 25th and 26th at the LA Convention Center. Thousands of workout enthusiasts will be there, along with many celebrities, including Laker legend and co-owner of iSpot Active, James Worthy. James will be signing autographs and taking pictures with you Laker fans at the giant iSpot Active booth. iSpot Active will also be selling their great iSpot Active CryoWear at the booth, and will be doing a giveaway of a signed James Worthy basketball, along with an iSpot Active garment of your choice. So if you want to look good, be healthy, and turn back the clock on Father Time in 2025, head down to Fit Expo LA on January 25th and 26th at the LA Convention Center. And go meet Laker legend James Worthy down there.
Meet Barkley.
He'll give you the lowdown on how
When
he
Barkley
his
smells
body.
gas,
iPod action.
he leaves fast. When Barkley hears hissing coming from a gas appliance, he leaves fast. When Barkley sees dirt or water shooting from the ground, he leaves fast. Barkley then calls 911 and Southwest Gas from a safe location.
Did that dog just grab a phone and dial 911?
Gas lines can be buried anywhere, so remember to call 911 and Southwest Gas.
The Row House reminds listeners each day 22 veterans take their own lives. Together, we can win this war against veteran suicide. Let us all join the Row House to let our veterans know there is hope, there is help, and they can heal. That's courtesy of The Row House in San Bernardino, offering daily deals on everything from top quality flour to edibles and so much more. Their goal is to help you win that battle within. Stop by or call 909-763-3700. The Row House in San Bernardino.
KCAA.
Welcome back, San Bernardino. This is Shazad and Working in the Margins, the Family Assistance Weekly Radio podcast show. You can check us out on KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM, and then on YouTube we are at KCAA TV. So we are here in the Teamsters Local 1932 building, which is always apropos. When you talk about Jim, before we went to break, you talked about finding your voice and helping people to find their voices, and that's how I got my start as an advocate. Is when I was a union member at UFCW Local 1428. And we represented the grocery store workers. And I started there the year of 2003-2004, which was the largest grocery strike in the history of the grocery stores. So I kind of got initiated by fire into that work. And I've never been like a not vocal. I've always advocated for myself and other people, but I didn't know anything until I went to the union. And that's where I got my, I feel like I got my wings and my boots and everything. So it's always apropos we are in Teamsters Local 1932, and Kevin, because we've been working on this together, they are really interested in doing some reentry work here in the community, and we are working with them. We're going to be working with them. I think it's going to be a great partnership to bring even more visibility of family assistance and unions and as legitimate pathways to livable wage employment and job protections. And I think that's what we are. I think right now, with our reentry population, that's our, I think that's the push, because we all know the facts about what's going on with that population and the exiting of, folks out of jail and things like that here in California. On that topic, how do the programs that we have ensure inclusivity and diversity in this initiative?
So it's a good question. It's a fair question. The one thing I think a simple answer would be, although it's never really simple, is we want to look like and talk like the color of the people we serve. And so the other thing that we like to think about is we're trying to do what's best for the community. And if you can try to think about having the community represented as a seat at the table, and what is best for the community.
Right.
And then you think a little bit about, when I take a look at my communities, are there areas where might be neighborhoods that are disadvantaged or struggling? And I'm a big advocate and always have been on rural and underserved communities.
Yes.
That zip code matters.
Yes.
And it impacts all those people, regardless of color, living
Yeah.
in that zip code.
Right.
They're paying their taxes, they're trying to go to work,
Yes.
and they may be experiencing a deficit of a strong public transportation system.
Exactly.
They may not have a supermarket. They may lack ATM machines where they can bank. And they
Yes.
can become vulnerable and fall prey to
Right.
predatory type businesses. So at the Family Assistance Program, from leadership down, there has been a focus on let's invite our clients even.
Yes.
If they feel as if they have restored themselves or reached a place where they're solid, let's invite them to an interview.
Yes.
And so, of no surprise, we're pleased to share that many of the folks, most of the folks that run our programs, have got lived experience. And whether it be, domestic violence or it be, in this case, reentry. And of no surprise, many of those folks are folks of color.
Yes.
And I know leadership is extremely proud to be a very big open door
Yes.
to helping all people.
Yes.
And we hurt and we feel it when we see people who have been picked on or maybe have been attacked or even killed
right.
because of maybe taking a stand in the community about protecting a group of people.
Exactly.
Right.
I am one of the reasons I came to Family Assistance and was so it was so attractive is I went to at first I met everybody and I met Daryl at a service provider fair, something like that. And I was like, and then a friend of mine said, you need to get to know Family Assistance. I was working at Foothill AIDS Project, and I said, okay. And and we had the same colors, and then we had like FAPs with initials, and I was like, okay, this is kismet. But I met, some of the folks and everything, and I learned that they had a strong LGBTQ program, that they were, at that time, were opening up Welcome Home, the house for LGBTQ for transition. And I thought that, man, we are really making progress. We are really making progress here and as a community and in the county because we reside in the county. Jim, you are, and then when the Stop the Hate program came, that just makes all kind of sense, right? And then there was some things, a tragedy that happened in the mountains with a lady that was killed.
Lorianne Carlton.
You're right.
Yep.
And then we dove head first in the Stop the Hate program. I love that because that's what we do. And Jim, you head that program and that initiative, and you are working with the Human Rights Coalition. Let's talk about that. I mean, that's putting us in a whole nother arena of marginalized folks that some folks are very afraid to get into.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad I get to talk about this. I think that we talk about DEI and we talk about within organizations and businesses and stuff, but you get into the community, and it's a challenge, right? I mean, there's ghettoization, there's oppression, there's people who appropriation without giving credit, right? That's negative. I mean, I was reading a really good book. I can't remember the author, but it's called White Negro, and it talks about
I know that book.
It talks about the appropriation by Caucasian communities of color culture.
Yes.
But not giving credit. There's not a problem with respecting it.
Right.
But it's when the credit's not
when
given.
you take the credit for
Right.
it.
Yeah. So with the campaign, we're focusing on, direct service, case management, referral, all that stuff, psychotherapy for victims and family members of victims. That's one prong. The second prong is prevention, which we go into schools. We do groups, education with GSAs, after school, classrooms, whatever. And then there's interventive, and that's like promotion in the community, outreach, presentations, and so a large part of that third prong, which is happening sort of right now, is I'm putting together a human rights coalition for San Bernardino County, and that's really heavy lifting. But I've started to.
It's worth it.
It really is worth it. I mean, I realize that there really isn't a formal Human
Right.
Rights Commission, and we talked about trying to advocate for creating a commission and being on that end, but it
Right.
just seems so much bureaucracy that we thought a coalition being on the outside and
Right.
trying to change from the outside
That's
is
grassroots
more
too.
effective.
You
Yeah.
get a lot of folks because it's grassroots.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, my background for decades is in coalition building,
Right,
so
right.
I
Organizing,
put
yeah.
my coalition pants on, and
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Jim, let me ask you, what does it look like for Stop the Hate to go into a school? What are we doing in there?
What are we doing there? Well, you know, right now we're having a challenge getting into schools in San Bernardino city vicinity in different communities. We're trying to do that now. Last year we had Rudy, our youth advocate.
Yes.
She's been going into the schools in the high desert, Hesperia, Victorville, Adelanto, and working with, you know, gender sexuality alliances and after school programs and classrooms. And I developed this last year, I developed a couple curricula. One is on safety planning and the other
Okay.
is on being an upstander,
Okay.
going from a bystander to an upstander.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually this month doing training our staff, doing a training
Okay.
of trainers on those curricula.
Okay.
So after doing those in the schools, you know, we're able to sort of like have young people coming back to, Rudy is experiencing young people coming back to them saying, this is what I noticed in my school and I spoke to my teacher about it, or this is what's been happening.
Right.
They're actually doing
That's
stuff. They're actually
empowering.
responding. They're
Yeah.
actually opening up and talking about where
Yeah.
they feel threatened or how they
Right.
feel threatened or where they use their voice. That's the important
Right.
thing, is that we're trying to give young people
The voice.
a voice
Right.
that they don't feel they have. And that's the big thing about positive youth development.
Okay. What are we seeing as far as what are we seeing in the schools that the kids are saying, you know what, I need help with this? What are we seeing? So I want us to be able to educate folks out there on what to look for, on something. So what are the kids seeing?
Right. You know, I think a lot of it is microaggressions.
Yeah.
You know, it's the underhanded, it's the mean girls, it's the bullying, it's the, you know, threatening looks, talking, whispering, ostracization.
Yes.
You know, that sort of thing, which is, you know, and this is what bugs me, is people say, well, that's what school is like. Well, that's not what school should be like.
It should be like, right.
It should be more
It doesn't
community
have to be
focused.
like
And it
that.
doesn't have to be like that. And I think a lot of adults or communities respond as, oh, well, that's just boys being boys. Or, oh, you know,
Nope.
it's just how the girls are.
No.
And that's not acceptable. That's what we're trying to change.
Boys
the
being
culture.
boys can get you an Epstein. So
Yeah.
we're not trying to go there with these, we need to do better.
Yeah.
We need to do better and we need to teach better.
Yeah.
But I love, what I like about Stop the Hate is that it prioritizes safety and empowerment to speak out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of folks that I've grown up with or that I see, work with in the community are still afraid to speak up because not even for like hate, but for just straight up bigotry. We're not going to hire you. We're not going to give you a seat at the table.
Right.
We're not going to invite you to meetings of importance. We don't want to hear about, and
Right.
sometimes sadly we find this in communities that are supposed to be fostering us, like the faith-based community sometimes. I've had, conversations with the faith-based community leaders about how we need to visualize our LGBTQ population
Right.
as members of our church.
Right.
If
Right.
that's what you're if that's what you're doing out there.
Right. Well, and it goes, it's interesting because with young people, for example, we do this exercise in the curriculum and it's like safety circles, right? Circle within a circle within a circle. And we have them look at, who do you feel that you can talk to anything about? Who do you
Right.
feel that you can't trust? So we get them to sort of identify the people in their lives and put them where they are in that, so
Right.
they know whom they can trust, who they
Right.
feel safe talking to.
Right.
Right? I think that, and I lost my train of thought. Oh well.
So I think
good one,
I want to
Riley.
pick it up because I know because I just want to because I completely understand what you're saying. So in those circles, like for me or for a lot of folks that I know that I've dealt with from the black community,
Right.
you know, it's a culture thing. A lot of it of the oppression is religious based, but coming up in the church, who I trust is my pastor
Yeah.
or the people from the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I know the oppression can sometimes be debilitating.
Yes.
To the point where folks are not living their true selves.
Ex-
They're not coming out.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and to me, that is like you said, it's beyond microaggression.
Right.
That is
That's
oppression.
Yeah, that's oppression. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you brought me back to my thought, you know, and it's, you know, our focus for this campaign, you know, it started as LGBTQ plus and BIPOC, and we're really, because of in the developing of the coalition, you know, there's the protected classes by the state.
Right.
And I'm making sure, I need to make sure that there's representation. I'm trying to get ICUC PICO, which is Inland Congregations United
for Change. Yep.
I'm trying to get Tom Dolan or someone from a faith-based interfaith.
Somebody send this to Tom Dolan. We
Hello.
want to talk to him.
Good Catholic work, right?
Exactly.
Good Catholic.
Yes.
You know, and I think that, you know, it's very important. I'm a out gay man. I've been out since I was like 16, right? And gone
Yes.
through that whole mess. And I'm, you know, whatever, you know, but I also know that I'm a white gay man, right? I'm
Right.
actually Arabic, but that doesn't mean
Right.
as much. It should. But, you know, so my role in any sort of coalition is I'm just a facilitator. I'm a vessel, right? I need people at that table, and I will just make sure, as a good facilitator, that everybody gets heard.
That
That
everybody
comes
comes.
away from the wall, you know, and
Yes.
starts talking
Yes.
and interfaces and
Yes.
discusses, you know. So I don't propose to know every experience. I propose to know who needs to be heard.
Exactly, and you make that opportunity available to them to come, and that's what I always pride this show. You know, I was given this opportunity to do this, and I have a great sponsor, Don Williamson. Now, Mr. Tax Saver, he's gonna come on after me, and I just, I love that, and I tell folks weekly, I say, I was given this opportunity, so a part of this responsibility is bringing other folks to this table, to this very big table, because I want to hear from what you need. What are your challenges? What do you need? What are your successes? What are your successes with Stop the Hate, Jim?
You know, I think that thing about having young people come back and tell Rudy what's been working. You know, one of the first things that happened when we started was we heard from a parent of a young person that their son was being bullied and harassed by a teacher
Wow.
in their school. So we talked with her, and, the parent, and, you encourage them to meet with the school, tell them what's going on, make sure that something, because I'm a big advocate. I'm like, no, this stops here.
Yes.
And the teacher was
Let's not start a trend.
right, and the teacher was laid off as a result.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, it was a
Yes.
real early success, and that
Yes.
was great. One of the challenges right now with the coalition is my concern. It hasn't really happened. Is getting involvement and it not being just like another stupid meeting to go to,
Right.
but the things are going to happen, that
Right.
we have presentations, that we learn how,
We have
why
actions.
people, we have actions, and find out why people don't report, because San Bernardino has a bad problem with reporting hate crimes. And there is this data that's going to be out next week, I think, about racial profiling within San Bernardino.
We're
So I'm
gonna
trying
keep
to
an eye
get
on
that.
this.
Yeah,
We're gonna
and
keep
so
an eye
I'm
on this community.
Yeah, so that's a big challenge. So.
Yes, that's change is always a challenge.
It is.
You are addressing something that probably should have been addressed a really long time ago.
Sure.
And so we've gotten away with doing things our way for a long time. So now we got to relearn how to do things the right way, or the better way, the more progressive way. So I want to hear from both of you. This has just been awesome. I always learn a lot also from when I talked to you, and now I feel like I get to share you with everybody, so they can learn too. But I want to hear tell me some hopes this year for where you would like to see family assistance go, as far as some work. Yes, tell me what do you think,
Kevin's been
Kevin?
quiet. I want to hear what
Okay, so thank you. Z, what you're doing is you're opening up what we're doing right now as an organization, which is goal setting.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is we're asking each of our program managers to reflect a bit on, after having done annual evaluations for their staff, their team, and then what worked and what didn't, and then take advantage of what Jim earlier on provides, which is customer feedback direct from the customer, and say, okay, how do we set goals for the new year? You know, for the Family Assistance Program, I think a really big goal will be for us to do late summer, fall, our 2025 gala here in the city of San Bernardino.
Yes.
And a shameless plug for the Family Assistance Program. There are not very many nonprofits in our big county that are in multiple locations, both down the hill and up the hill. Those of us that live up the hill like to call the Cajon Pass the hill. And there are not a lot of nonprofits that know how to be strong in both markets. And so for the very first time, the Family Assistance Program is going to say, hey, leap of faith, but also it's the right thing to do. We're doing really great work down in the city of San Bernardino. Let's do a gala. So we're excited about thinking about that. And I know Jim can mention events that different folks have got planned. As you mentioned earlier, we have a human trafficking walk.
Yes, we have a human trafficking walk. Let me tell them about that real quick, because I have that up as, that was like my only shout out, or event, this show. So yes, community. So family assistance and our open, it's called The Open Door. That's our human trafficking program division, and they're having a Stop Human Trafficking walk, the Open Door Anti-Human Trafficking walk, on January 25th. 2025, so that's this month in a couple of weeks. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 323 West 7th Street in San Bernardino. And that is 323 West 7th is our Open Arms Youth Drop-In Center. So I'm going to be mentioning this as often as possible. I'm going to post it on my socials under hashtag Working in the Margins with Z. I want folks to come out to this. I want you to come and learn about human trafficking and that it does exist in San Bernardino. You may not see it, you may not think it does, but it does, and we have the clients that are going to be out at this walk, and we're going to support them and the efforts around anti-human and around human trafficking. So thank you for that. Jim?
Yeah.
Tell me, what is a goal you have this year for your Stop the Hate program?
You know, the biggest thing is getting the coalition up and running. Right now I'm putting together an advisory council. Or advisory
Tell us
group.
what you need for that. Tell us who you want and tell us what you need.
Well, I want organizations, I want community members who are willing to work, who are willing to embrace all of the protected classes, that, you know, people aren't in it just for themselves, that they're in it for human rights, right? Which also includes their individual rights as well. Depending upon whoever they are and whatever their issues are or whatever their class is.
Right.
So that's a big thing. Right now, I'm working with the California Department of Civil Rights and DOJ around formulating the agenda for the planning meeting, and then we're going to kick off probably the first coalition meeting
Are you
sometime in
presenting
February.
anywhere soon? Are you doing, because you do a lot of our presentations for around shared housing and things like that. Are you doing anything soon around this year or the next few
Well,
months?
I'm doing the training of trainers for our staff, but no, I'm like doing a lot of like data analysis from last year from the SPDATs. But I think one of the big things that's coming is Pride in June. We tend to organize Pride. Oscar Lobos is our rock star in putting that together with his team. And last year it was even bigger than the first time. And so we're hoping to make it even bigger and make it really plentiful. I think a big thing also is making sure that people know how to reach us, right? So we
Yes.
you can get to involved with Stop the Hate through familyassist.org/stop-hate.
Okay.
You
Say
can-
that again. Say that one more time.
familyassist.org/stop-hate.
Okay. Thank
And,
you.
and then also, one of the things that we're really encouraging people to do is to report hate crimes. And
Right.
they can do it anonymously. A lot of times people don't trust the system, and
Right.
the people they have who are answering the phones and receiving these reports are way amazingly trained.
Right.
And that number is 833-8-NO-HATE.
Oh, say that again.
833-8-NO-HATE.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
And that's through the state. And they
Okay.
connect with us. They connect with other programs to get people what they need. That's an important thing because San Bernardino has not been reporting hate crimes. People sort of think, well, someone
Right.
threw a can at me and called me a fag. So they're like, I'm used to it. You don't need to have
No,
to be used to it.
that is assault.
And a lot of times people don't understand that if it's not necessarily a crime, but it's a bias or an incident,
Right.
we still tell them, report it because we
Mm-hmm.
need a trail of breadcrumbs that if in fact that does eventually turn into a crime or does end
Escalate.
up being a crime, there's a history of
Exactly.
behavior. We need to show that.
We say that to our domestic violence.
Yes.
Also, don't be afraid. Start a trail. Let folks know. It's really hard to go back and after you've not reported for years. We believe victims. We believe you.
Yeah.
But it just helps everything go faster to get you the services that you need, the resources that you need if there's a history, and hopefully somewhere along that way they talk to somebody to get assistance. I always it's sad that we hear about so many women that have just endured for so long because they didn't have anybody to turn to. So and I sit on the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence, and I'm learning so much, but some of it is so tragic.
Yeah.
We need so many more protections to make sure that, whoever ends up leading the families after DV or incidences or charges or, imprisonment or things, that those folks are supported, and that they're not continue to be re-victimized because they have to take their kids to go see the abuser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to change these policies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as a personal development thing this year, I have set a goal for myself. Number one, I'm going to get better at Spanish for all kinds of reasons. And I'm not unfamiliar with it, so I'm hoping it'll be a little bit easier. But also, I really want to focus on a population, a marginalized community or a population that I can really make a difference. And so I've selected an organization called the Black Collective. It's a organization that does work with Black domestic violence survivors.
Oh, wow.
Women, blacks, and it's I've been going to their meetings for about the last 6 months. I've learned a lot. I've seen where some priorities are lacking in our community for DV, and I'm thinking that I can help influence that.
Boy, we would love to work. I think with our DV, with unfortunately black women being victims of domestic violence, what we often see with the black women is also increased gun violence.
Yes.
And so that's an interesting
That is a
area
real
of how
statistic.
can we work with them and their families around
Yeah.
guns
Yes.
and making sure we could get locks
Yes.
on those guns
Yeah.
so they're not used in a fit of rage
Yeah.
to hurt.
Exactly.
Want to work with you on
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Good
Because
stuff.
that also lends itself toward the reentry population.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we got sisters going down for being strapped,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so and taking it into their own hands. So, gentlemen, thank you. This
Thank
has
you.
been awesome.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming. I'm hoping everybody's going to get to see this as soon as it comes out. San Bernardino, it has been a pleasure. I will be back next week, and thanks for tuning in.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The death toll in the Southern California wildfires is rising. The first death in the Palisades fire has been confirmed in addition to the 5 people killed in the Eaton fire. Los Angeles County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney.
The Eaton fire remains estimated to be 10,600 acres, and growth has been significantly stopped.
He adds, however, that there is still 0% containment. Hundreds of thousands remain under evacuation orders or warnings as wildfires burn in the area. Meantime, President Biden is telling officials in California to spare no expense when it comes to the wildfires. Biden sat alongside Vice President Harris and other officials for a briefing to address the response federally. Former President Carter's body is now in Georgia after his state funeral was held in Washington, D.C. today. Among those who spoke included President Biden, Carter's 3 grandsons, and former President Ford's son, Stephen. Carter died at the age of 100 late last month and will now return to his hometown of Plains to be buried next to his wife. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is urging the Supreme Court not to stop the sentencing of President-elect Donald Trump in his hush money case. Scott Pringle reports.
Prosecutors filed a letter saying there's no basis for the Supreme Court to step in, and it would be an extraordinary step to scrap the sentencing scheduled for Friday morning, about a week and a half before Trump is sworn in as president. Trump's lawyers had requested the Supreme Court do away with sentencing, arguing that Trump is protected by presidential immunity. Well, Trump was found guilty last year of falsifying business records in connection to hush money payments made to an adult film actress right before the 2016 election.